God has through the ages always raised up a prophet that became, led people into a world religion that has always pointed people back to God. And I said, but yours is the last one up here. Are you the last one? They said, oh no, one day some other one will be here. Some other prophet will come along and point people when our religion is old and dusty. I was like, whoa, these people are good. They were just wrecking me. I'm going to just tell you, they were wrecking this Christian's nerves, okay? I'm just telling you. But I was just in awe because they weren't upset even about their faith becoming a dead religion. They weren't upset about the religion itself because they were about having a personal experience with God, a one-on-one, a relationship with God, and then expressing it. My Pentecostal root's about to shine now. I'm going to just go ahead and tell you. They were about having a relationship with God and then expressing it through their own hands to their neighbors. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. That sounded pretty much like what you quoted Jesus as saying. I was like, oh, our faith says that. And I looked at them. I said, yeah, my faith says that. My holy book says that. And they said, most all the holy books do. It's like, woo, it's back to the drawing board. I got to get some more study in. And then all of a sudden I realized that my truth and their truth may not have been quite the same in the way to get there, but the ultimate desire was exactly the same. And that all of the world religions from the very beginning of time, and whether they were world religions or small religions, come on, their goal was to point people to the higher power, whatever name they wanted to give that higher power. So there's this whole study. Now, let me go back to Jesus the Christ, because I'm glad you chose to be here and not over at the Baha'i place or the Muslim place or the Jewish synagogue yesterday. Because remember, they're not there today. They're there on the actual Sabbath. Come on. So, in this reading, we find that Jesus, in our holy book, because all those other religions have their holy books too. Our holy book says that God has put Jesus in charge of the church. And Jesus' teaching is this, that we love God and then we love each other. And if our faith is saying that, and their faith is saying that, and their faith is saying that, and that religion is saying that, and that religion over there, and that one, and that one, and that one. Oh my goodness. Someone asked me this week, well, are you becoming universal? Or no, they didn't say it. They said, are we universalist or are we Christian? I said, well, we're Christian, church. We fall in the mainstream of Christianity sometimes. But we also have respect for other people's faith. Amen. Or non-faith. There are people that don't even believe in the higher power, but they believe in something that says, I've got to reach out and help those around me. Amen. Now, I call that Holy Spirit at work, quite frankly. They may not call it that. I do. But that's just my language. That's what I grew up with. That's what I'm comfortable with. Someone on the other side of town or the other side of the earth may not call it that, but still have the same goal of Christology. They have the Christ Spirit. The Christ Spirit says, no matter what the religion is, no matter what the prophet, no matter what the holy book you use, the Christ Spirit, the Christ principle says that I love God and I express that through my action with love towards my brothers and my sisters, whomever they are. Well, Christ he was not set up, even in our Christian faith, was not set up as the head of the church overnight. It took years. He had to grow into it, did he not? Because see, while we have that life cycle of a year for the church, and we start with the baby, and well, we're at that end of that cycle, but we all know that Easter was months ago, right? And the death and the resurrection was. So what do we do all of those other months that we're not celebrating one of those things? We're usually talking about those 3 years of ministry that Jesus had, that he walked the earth, and the lessons that he taught his disciples. And if you will go back and get it down to the bare bones, just the bare bones of what he did, he taught his disciples to do what? Act it out. Go out and do the work. Go out and do the work. Let my hands be your hands, he says. Let my voice be your voice. Let my feet be your feet. Go out there. Help other people. If you were here a couple of weeks ago, it might have been even last week, where he says, you know, just a cup of water given in my name will not go unrewarded. If you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me, Jesus says. Remember the sheep and the goats? The sheep and the goats, you know, on the Judgment Day thing, that's always a little scary to me. This judgment, I don't like that. I don't really think that's real, but that's another sermon for another day. There is judgment, though. There is judgment, whether there's a judgment day or not. There's a judgment, though, that we can even do in our own lives. I don't want to wait until Judgment Day to decide if I'm a sheep or a goat, or for somebody else to decide. I can decide that today of which path I want to go. And Jesus said the sheep were the ones that were out feeding the hungry. And they were the ones out visiting the prisoners. They were out taking care of business. And the goats were the ones that chose not to help. They chose not to help. They got, as we'd say back in the Church of God, they got saved and satisfied. You know, they got a relationship with Jesus, got their sins forgiven, and that was all then they just waited around until death came to take them to live in heaven. They got saved and satisfied. Well, I'm not satisfied. I got to be helping somebody. I want to help somebody. There's an old spiritual that says, if I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living will not be in vain. And I like that. That should be our everyday anthem, our everyday mantra. I was speaking to Fran earlier this week, and I don't know if y'all know this or not. I don't get to talk to Fran every week, although I probably should, because she gives me lots of sermons. She does. I love the way the Holy Spirit speaks to her, and I love the way the Holy Spirit speaks through her. And so the title of the sermon came from Fran. She gave me this sermon today. Jesus grew up. And it's okay for me to tell her, isn't it, what you told me? I didn't ask you ahead of time. Guess I should ask you now. That's Fran. Anybody who doesn't know, that's Fran. She said, you know, I woke up the other morning and I was thinking about our lives. And I was thinking that we're about to be in the Christmas season, the Advent, the pregnancy and all that stuff that I was talking about earlier. And the excitement of having a baby and the newness and the innocence. Come on. She used that word innocence. Oh, Lord. It's been a long time since I've seen innocence. How about you, Sister Rhonda? She said, but it's a new start at life. It's a new baby that's been given life. And we're going to watch it grow over the course of the next year in our lives. And she was referring back to the sermon from last week about the sheep and the goats. And she said, but you know, Jesus didn't stay a baby. He didn't stay, oh, the coochie coochie coo. He didn't stay little. He didn't stay in that innocence. She said he grew up. Jesus grew up. And he didn't just grow up and be saved and satisfied. He got busy. He got busy. Not only was he out doing work, he trained other people. Amen. So that when he was dead and gone, the work would keep going. Hello? Amen. Yes. Are we even doing that? Sometimes I can't get people. Oh, there was people. Thank you for those people, and I will not call their names because they asked me not to. But if you will notice, there are two beautiful handrails over here. And two steps over on either side. And this one even won't move because they've all been worked on this week because somebody said, I see a need. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. Doing Jesus' work. So now those people that struggle to come up on the stage for something, they have a way to get up. They may have to start a little earlier to get on up here than they ordinarily would, but they're going to get up here. That's right. And we appreciate the help. We appreciate it when people have ideas. He went through the proper channels and went through the building coordinator. Can we do this? And how's the best way to do this? And they all worked it out, and it just happened. Wendy was one of the speakers over at the Trans Advocates Day of Remembrance service the other night. I'm sitting back there as proud pastor taking pictures of her up there. She was representing. Amen. Did a great job. And we thank you. I want to tell you something else, and I hope it's okay to tell this. Her wife was there in the audience. And for those of you who are not familiar, I mean, sometimes it's difficult when you've been married and then you go through a life change and your body changes and there's great revelation. And not everybody can be in the same room, much less be there to support. Amen. But she was there. She was there. Just want to tell you something. We've got to be the hands of Jesus. We've got to do that. And I've said this many times. That we're showing that movie, Call Me Troy, and it shows a lot of the history of Troy fasting on the steps for 40 days, of courthouses, and doing all sorts of things for our rights today. Some of the stuff that we have the rights as LGBT people today because of Troy Perry almost killing himself for us through the years, to stand up for us. And he started this denomination on 3 prongs. And yes, one of them is about having a personal relationship with God. And the second leg is about having a relationship with each other, supporting each other, community. But that's not where it left, because that wasn't even what Jesus came for, and that's not even what the Baha'i folks told me that all of the world religions were about. It was about that third leg, because you can get saved and satisfied, but you need to get that third leg where you're looking out for others. Amen. Others, your neighbors that are not here in this room. Amen. Your neighbors that don't look like you or believe like you or vote like you. Yes. Come on. Amen. That you celebrate the diversity that is all of God's creation, whatever it is. Fran helped me to see a couple of other things. Back in Amos chapter 5, verse 24, how many times have we heard this? But let justice run down like waters, and righteousness as a mighty and ever-flowing stream. We've got to be involved in justice for our sisters and brothers, not just here, but around the world. And Ezekiel, Jesus grew up. I'm just telling you, Jesus grew up. Because it's not the innocence of the little baby anymore. It's Jesus grew up. And next week we'll talk about the innocence again. But we better get busy on this part of it first. In Ezekiel 16, 49 and 50. Behold, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom. Y'all ever heard of Sodom?